podcast.
Yeah, the music and the views, the culture.
Sweet. Let's get into it.
And then we'll not forget all the lovely things we plan to do today.
Sweet podcast.
What's happening, my people? It's Mr. Al Pete, MPN Network, all that great stuff. The Groove Sweet Podcast. We are rolling. Thank you so much for hitting play and rolling with us. Before I get into it, y'all already know, go to C as in Charles, FoChallenge.com. Check out my work, but check out all the other content, Creative of Color content. They have a lot of podcasts on there, man. We got a good variety of stuff on there, man. And listen, we have one of the creators on here, a very, very, very solid brother, man. That whole, like, what is it, that kindred spirit type stuff, man. And it's crazy because we've only just been on like Clubhouse talking, but this guy here, man, a very intellectual guy. Definitely respect him inside and outside of his work. He has a great story. He's a great interviewer too. Let me tell you, he's been on this award tour on just like being a guest on other people's shows. So it's just good to hear him have those type of conversations with any and every type of conversation. But he is a podcaster, host, editor, producer, and he has two podcasts. No, when I was reading bio, correct me if I'm wrong, I saw like two other podcasts that they mentioned. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's 4 in all.
4 in all. Okay, cool. So we have Black is America podcast. We have the Startup Life podcast. And then from a bio that I had to dig up, it was nothing but buckets and just blurting. That's correct?
That is correct. Those are actually old podcasts that I don't do anymore. So there's two other podcasts. Look, man, I just be out here podcasting, man. Just trying to see what sticks to the wall. I'm sorry about that.
No, so correct me with the other two that you got.
So there's the other two that I do for my employer that I work for, Metals Behavioral Healthcare. So they're called Beyond Theory, and the other one's called Recovery Replay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So listen, this guy does great work on the podcast, and the Black is America joint. Please, go check out all of them, and you have a slew of shows for the other podcast. Let me get that correct. Hold on one second. The Startup Life podcast. So you got some catching up that y'all gonna do on that. But the Black is America joint, listen, phenomenal work. And I'm just looking forward to see what he has up under his sleeve, man. So we what we do I forgot what I do that quick. The air drums. Mr. Dominic Lawson. How you doing, sir?
I am living the dream, Mr. Al P. Thank you so much for having me, man. Like you said, we're kindred spirits. From Duval to Shelby County, man. Clearly, there's a connection there, some kind of way, man. But it's an honor to be in your airspace. It's an honor to be on your show. And I'm so grateful to be on the Groove Suite because this is something I don't get to talk about that often. So it's kind of a change of pace for me. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I want to say we haven't talked too much. We talked music, but it was more on the science side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we do talk about the music, it's always the science side. But and I'm sure we're going to be bringing like the science action into it on this go round. But I just want to have an easy conversation about the song that you brought to me that we want to speak on today. So feel free to listen if you want to get back on Groove Suite and talk about another song or another album or another whatever. The floor is all yours, brother.
I appreciate that. Really looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. So without further ado, to my people, y'all already saw the cover, so y'all already know who we getting into. But the song today that we're doing is 3-6 Mafia Ridin Spinners. And for some reason I forgot that little flip was on it. But I was like, okay, cool. But nevertheless, when I listened to the song, I saw the responses and stuff and listened to it last week, and it just took me down like this path. Like it took me down like this path of when it took for me as a Floridian, 3-6 Mafia is that like stand out, for like a better phrase, is like that group, because you got Atlanta, right? So you got Outkast, Good and Mob, you got these enormous amount of people from Atlanta, enormous amount of people from California, enormous amount of people from New York. But it's like when you heard 3 6 Mafia, it was like it's almost like you had to like not pay attention on some like, oh, they special because they coming from a different demographic area. Mm-hmm. They got the eerie type of hip hop to them, and it was crunk. You know what I'm saying, at the time, and the word that they was using at the time, crunk. So,
right.
Yeah, that right. It took me down that alley, man. So, what did it do for you, man? I mean, you're Memphis, correct?
Absolutely. Memphis, born and raised. Okay. And Ridin Spinners. And to full disclosure, I am not about that lifestyle. I have never been about that lifestyle. I tried to get rims on my car one time. I couldn't afford them. So it's like, it is what it is. But I love the bravado and the swag. And that song, for me, Ridin Spinners, you talked about the dynamic of the South, because this is 2003 when this came out, I believe, right? 2002, 2003, around that time. Mm-hmm. And so this is around the time in the South where the nation was really starting to respect the South, right? Because the Outkast was already doing their thing right here, right? But you had Lil Flip, and you had David Banner, and you had Bone Crusher and mm-hmm. people like that in that time. And so when I saw Ridin Spinners, and having this national airplay, I was like, we have made it here in Memphis, right? True enough, they were doing some stuff with, Cash Money Records and stuff like that, like a few years before that. But when I heard Ridin Spinners and heard Lil Flip, who was also hot at the time, right? Mm-hmm. Lil Flip and somebody, Paul Wall, and David Banner, all those folks, right? And so when I heard Ridin Spinners, I was like, yeah, we made it. We are in this thing. We're finally getting that national recognition, because when you come from the South, man, you know how it is, right? If it wasn't, there was a period of time where if it wasn't East Coast, it wasn't West Coast, you wasn't popping. It wasn't, right. You were insignificant, right? Mm-hmm. But when I heard, not just the South, but somebody from where I come from, to get that national airplay, I was like, okay, we in this thing. And to be fair, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up listening to Rap City. I grew up going to Sam Goody, right? I grew up, being made fun of, like, you come to get that new Player Fly. Like, nah, man, I came to get that new KRS-One that just dropped. Like, what? You ain't from Brooklyn, bro? What is you doing? What is you on right now? You know what I mean? And so, and so, like, even within my own community, it's kind of like a bit of an outcast there, right? And so, but when I heard Ridin Spinners, I was like, yes, Memphis is here. The Memphis sound is out there. You get to see what we are about, the crunk music, that whole aspect, because the South knew about 3 6 Mafia, right? But I think it was more so everybody else didn't really know about it. So that's why I chose Ridin Spinners, man. Like I said, I didn't have money to afford Spinners, but it's one of those things where it's like I felt it. I felt that pride, that Memphis pride. You know what I mean? Rocking FUBU jerseys and stuff like that for us, by us. And matter of fact, they even had FUBU had like remember that line of FUBU jerseys where they had the cities on them, and so we had the one where it was the MEMPHIS with the dots in between, and going back to that whole making easy money, pimping is serious. You know what I mean? And so, right. So when I heard Ridin Spinners, I'm like, yeah, we finally made it. We finally made it. So that's kind of what comes up for me.
Absolutely. So you made a reference about, like, when you say you went to go, like, you go to the circuit cities and stuff, and you went about like the KRS ones, versus, what I'm saying, I guess the local music or Midwest or whatever have you. I feel that way when it comes to Florida too, man, because like I was watching the Hip Hop Awards last week, and Trina got awarded, the honoree and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I ain't gonna lie, man. I had a very, very proud moment. You know what I'm saying, that Trina got it, because we, that's Miami, so that's MIA. Right. So we come from the Trina, Trick Daddy, Rick Ross, that era. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Absolutely.
like I wouldn't necessarily be like you wouldn't catch me bumping that music every day, but I do know about the music. It is the culture, and I do like that music. But it's funny that you say that because it's the same way I feel about Florida. It was like even to this day, it's almost like this sense of all right, we know Trick Daddy is. We know Rick Ross is. We even know T-Pain is. And T-Pain be on like everybody, like been on Chris Brown stuff, everybody.
Right.
But it's like, it's almost like they still come back to Florida and then it's like they habitat. And that's how I feel about 3 6 Mafia when it comes to like Memphis. Now, and I didn't know, I knew about Memphis, I knew about the music, but I really didn't get too much into it because my best friend, well, until my best friend went to University of Memphis. And when she got her she got her PhD there. What was it 2010 or 2011? So she was up there. Yeah, she was in Memphis for over 10. I wouldn't say over 10 years. So basically, that's when I got the culture of it. That's when I got like the history of things. Shoot, is her book up here? She wrote a book and it's about Memphis, and I'll find it, but but I say all that to say, like when she went to Memphis, that's when I really started getting like the meat of it, you know what I'm saying? From like Jacksonville, I was just like listening to it on the radio or listening to it when I bought CDs, but I didn't really I didn't get that culture until like my best friend went there, and I was like, the history of them is like, their story is pretty dope too. Especially all the way leading up to when they won, was it an Oscar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you talk about 3 6 Mafia, you're going back to Mystic Styles and 66, 61 and Sipping on Scissor with UGK and stuff like that. Even some stuff with Goody Mob, you know what I mean? Like I said, like the South, due in large part, they knew about 3 6 Mafia, right? And that was always a pride there. I remember my first semester in college, I went to Maryville College over in East Tennessee.
Okay.
And there was a lot of cats from Atlanta who went there, right? And so they all knew about, Playa Fly and Tommy Wright and that Memphis sound, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of cool. But again, when Ridin Spinners came out, it really was, from the standpoint of 3 6 Mafia, it really was that seminal moment of like, okay, and true enough, maybe we had to ride, from a national scene, had to ride the coattails of Atlanta a little bit and stuff like that, because they were kind of the gateway for most of us in the South. If you're talking about that hip hop scene a lot of times, but when Ridin Spinners came out and that album came out, it was so good. It was so good. I was just like, yes, find a little bit of respect. And I think in to what you were saying earlier, I definitely was on the Florida sound. Definitely was on Trick Daddy and Rick Ross, and there's another guy out of Miami. He's like, yeah. I think that was
JT Money.
JT Money, yes. Definitely was on the JT Money. I had to pull an old one out for you for a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. All respect to JT Money, man. I mean, him and it was Luke Campbell and what was it? Two Live Crew. And then you had the Poison Clan, and Poison Clan, JT Money was in Poison Clan, and then you had Trick Daddy, and it just spawned from there. You know what I'm saying? It was like when they gave them the green light, they just kind of ran with it. Especially Trick Daddy, he really ran with it and just made some great music and really like took the pride of Florida and just ran with it. Now I will say I felt like Atlanta was respectful to Memphis. Now, I mean, I'm sure Memphis probably would have had to like ride the coattails for Atlanta, but I do feel like Atlanta probably came up to Memphis or probably heard the sound and was like, yeah, let's go out there and see what's up. You know what I'm saying? I think it was that way around a little bit more, in my opinion, because
I agree. I agree because, like I said, like when that first semester in college was like a lot of Atlanta cats, and they knew all about the Memphis sound. You know what I mean? So no, I definitely agree to what you're saying. I guess I just meant like I guess on a national
tip,
thing,
absolutely,
like on a national tip, like it was like it was your outcast, it was your goody mob. You know what I mean? It was kind of like that, kind of like the kick in the door. And I feel like a lot of time, and I'm just paying respect to Atlanta because it is what it is, right?
Absolutely.
They kicked in the door because who's to say that you would have a David Banner in Mississippi or a Lil Flip in Texas, even though you did have Scarface and the Ghetto Boys and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I think that moment, 2003, 2004, 2005, where the South just kind of exploded, you know what I mean? And that sound with the Ludacris and stuff like that, I think it paved the way for other people who may or may not have, gotten that shine, right? Because you had, like I said, you had Ball and G here in Memphis, right? You had 3-6 Mafia, right? I mean, they was kind of the leaders of that clan, if you will. But like, if the South hadn't blown up like it did, maybe it wouldn't have paved the way to say a Yo Gotti or a Moneybag Yo, and and those cats, you know what I mean? And so I think that's the beauty of hip hop, right? Because I think it goes to show that, like, you put in the work and you do this time or whatever, but like, people who are artists understand, or they game recognize game, essentially, is what I'm saying, right? It's kind of like how we were talking about what you do and what I do back and forth. Like, game recognize game. When I heard the tables might wobble, I was like, yo. That's
and
it.
I was
there.
the same way. I was the same way with Black is America. I'm telling you, literally, I was driving. I was like, yo, I had to pull the car up. I had to immediately leave like a comment, like a respectful comment on the Apple joint. And I was like, yo, because this thing here is like top notch. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so always, I get that. I feel that for sure.
Right. And so, like, I think podcasting and hip hop is kind of the same in that regard. And it's kind of like game recognized game. And so it's kind of like a lot of those Atlanta cats definitely knew the Memphis sound. But like, when you hear Ridin Spinners on Rodeo Drive, or if you hear Ridin Spinners up in Queens, you know what I mean? Like, that's when like, okay, there is a certain level of circulation that's happening that people are starting to understand. Like, okay, this Southern style, or maybe this Memphis style, there's something there. Let's see where it goes, And now you got Big Glorilla, doing her thing. So proud of her. And so I'm just a proud Memphian. Like, I've never been really on the hip hop scene, but definitely a fan, right? Because I tell people all the time, hip hop's my first love. Hip hop's that girl that don't check you, don't tell you, talk bad about you, nothing like that. Is accepting of all stuff like that.
She gonna be there.
She gonna be there. You know what I mean? and so no, but like I said, like that era, the South or whatever, 2003 was really big and really important and seminal moment in my life when it comes to hip hop in Memphis and 666 Mafia.
Absolutely. Real quick, let me get through this. Let me read a little bit some history action. So
absolutely.
The song, what is it? Oh God, Ridin Spinners. It was on, the sixth studio album from 3-6 Mafia. So it was released June 24th, 2003 by Hypnotized Minds. Oh man, Hypnotized Minds. That's
right, man. ACP, Hypnotized Camp Posse, man.
Wasn't the logo? The logo. I mean, the logo was like the Grim Reaper.
It was the Grim Reaper. Like, yeah, it was. Well, 3-6 Mafia. I mean, it's 3-6, right? So the whole satanic thing or whatever, and so it just made sense, right? So but that was definitely the logo for Hypnotized Minds for sure.
But when I read Hypnotized Minds, it sent me back to that moment. So so the album, this is when Gangsta Boo was not on this album, but of course you had DJ Paul, Juicy J, Country Black, Lord Infamous. The album went gold. It was number 4 on the Billboard's weekly. That's where it peaked at number 4.
Right.
And the producers of the song would be DJ Paul and Juicy for sure.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, man. I mean, they had a lot of success, man. They 2 of their albums went platinum, When the Smoke Clears. Most Known Unknown, both of that was in 2000 and 2005. The single that I would deem for me to be big is definitely Stay Fly.
Oh yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, like the special, like 3-6 Mafia is like that special. First off, I feel like all of the South, I feel like all of them would have went to like the same high school, stayed in the same neighborhood. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you was walking through the halls of like Dirty South, you know what I'm saying, high school, like you would see a 8-Ball MJG, you would see 3-6 Mafia like on the football, you know, on the sideline acting crazy or something like that. You would see Outkast, you see Good and Mob, you see David Banner, you see Lil Flip, you see Tip, you see it's just like all these notable people that are like so special to us. Southerners, you know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like all of them are cool, man. And one thing that made me think about that, because I watched the video and I saw Big Gip in the back, and I was like, when I saw Gip, I'm like, yeah, Gip seemed like he just probably went to Memphis or went to Houston just on some like, let me just get some flavor from these boys, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And they probably did the same thing too. I'm sure 3-6 was like, yo, let me hit up the ANC, see what's going on over there, man. But I just love that spirit. Reading that just took me somewhere.
Well, you know, but I mean, you know, like you talked about, you know, Paul and Juice being producers, you know, like even though maybe there wasn't like a ton of like, you know, studio albums from them or something like that from a national scene or whatever, but they did a lot of producing, like the song International Players Club, you know, with 3,000, with 3 Stacks, you know what I mean? That's the once again, Paul and Juice right then and there, like on the producing tips. So it's like, you know, I guess what the pride for me is like, even though they're from Memphis, right? There's still imprints of their legacy all around the South, right? Now producing for T.I., producing for Outkast or Ludacris and stuff like that. You know, and so it's just, and then they won that Oscar. I was like, you couldn't tell me nothing. You couldn't tell me nothing.
You still can't tell them nothing, man. I mean, respectfully, like to this day, I mean, like when they won that Oscar, that was a forever moment. Like it wasn't like a moment here and there. I mean, it was a moment here and there for the time period, but it was like you got Tear the Club Up, 3-6 Mafia, right? And then you merge into the Ridin Spinners, 3-6 Mafia. Then you get into They Fly. Then you get to all the production, the producing that they did. What's my man name? The Chicken Head song.
Project Pat.
You got that whole era. and then you get the international player 3-6. And then you get the Oscar. And it's like, so out of all of that, it's like when that Oscar hit, it was like, yeah, y'all forever. Like they forever.
Right, because many artists can say Grammy Award winning, but not every artist can say Academy Award winning 3-6 Mafia or super producer or Paul or whatever, because that says a lot. And you know me, how I love my awards, man. Like that's something you can leverage, man. Because like, you know, because they leveraged it into like a TV show they did with Ashton Kutcher on MTV for a minute, and then other opportunities, and now they're pretty much set for life. And now Juice is out here doing, he was doing some stuff with Wiz Khalifa. I don't know if he's still doing it now, but like he's doing, now Juice is out here doing stuff with Katy Perry. Like that's absurd. Like no Memphis dudes supposed to be out here making music, especially on no, you know, you go from Tear the Club Up Thug to Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
Like, come on, man. Like, that's absurd.
Yeah.
You know, but then again, here we are. You know what I mean? Here we are. And so it's just amazing to kind of see that growth and that spirit. But again, I personally feel like that fulcrum point, that moment where it turned was Ridin Spinners, because again, I feel like that was the moment where Nashville was like, okay, that Memphis sound is okay. Now, true enough, you had your purist hip hop heads, stuff like that, especially those in Queens and Brooklyn, and like, bro, that ain't it. And I get it, you know, to each his own. It's the birthplace. I get it.
Absolutely.
But I mean, everything evolves. Everything evolves, right? You know, a lot of people like to say something about today's music or whatever, but like it's an evolution. Like nothing stays the same. That's one of the things that's constant, that is change. And so, but again, going back to them, that 2003 Ridin Spinners, like when I heard, first of all, it was a hot track.
Absolutely.
It's hot as hell, right? It's for the summer, so it's perfect. right? And so, and then you start seeing people, ride the streets of Memphis, and I can picture it in my head now. We call it flicking, right? So you just be in your car, and then like you screw, then they still spinning, and so it's like I can picture that like riding down, up and down Main Street and Riverside Drive here in Memphis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the people like myself who couldn't afford the spinners, you got them spinner hub caps. Hey man, you just did what you could. You know what I mean? 'Cause you just want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? So you got the spinner hub caps from AutoZone or whatever, or wherever you get, or O'Reilly, or wherever you get auto parts. And so, but nah, man, that moment, 2003, June 24, 2003, that's a moment in hip hop history.
Absolutely, man.
For Memphis that I definitely rung true for me. So.
Absolutely, man. I mean, like you said, it was like I agree. It was that turning point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would respectfully say when that song came out, like, just a little bit more light. And when I say light, I'm talking about like, because they was tear the club up. It was, it was that like that gothic, eerie feeling, gloomy feeling, man, but like
they say themselves, man. 3 6 Mafia is the reason clubs have security. Like that's something they swear by. They are the reason club has security. So,
and hold on, so I might have my timing off, but they came out after. They came out before like Lil Jon and that whole "Who You With," right?
So this is right around around that kind of same time again, where as far as like that notoriety or whatever, right? Because
okay.
I think "Who You With," I mean, it definitely predates Ridin Spinners, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Okay.
But they were both, they was doing their thing, down in Atlanta, and then, they was doing, Mafia doing their thing in Memphis.
I'm talking about tear the club up, like tear the club up.
Oh, tear the club up. Is like, this is like 98.
Okay.
99.
So we're gonna say Lil Jon was inspired by by the 3 6 Mafias.
You could say, I'm gonna definitely say yes, right? Definitely say yes, but not from a standpoint of like maybe they was doing it first or something like that. You know what I mean? Because that timeline could get murky. You know what I mean? Because like who's to say who was doing something in their basement before a whole bunch of people knew about what this other people were doing in a multi-million-dollar studio. You know what I mean? So it can get murky, but there's definitely again, like when I went to college, and there was definitely some influence in the Atlanta sound from Memphis and vice versa. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, around that "Who You With," tear the club up was like, 98. Now, even though that 98 tear the club up, I mean, we had heard it before in Memphis. Like, this is like 97, 96 or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. But I think nationally, when they did the deal with, I believe, Loud Records, I think that's when, like, nationally we heard tear the club up and stuff like that. But now we've been tearing the club up since '89. Like, it is what it is. We tear the club up since '89. So I mean,
don't get it twisted, boy.
Nah, so not at all.
Listen, when we used to, because I mean, I 97 when I came out. So like I said, I celebrated my 25th this like a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So hearing tear the club up in the club, like, that was one of them songs that was like, if we hear this in the club, just get by a wall. You know what I'm saying? Or just.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, again, and then, we come from, and then like, Memphis is really this smorgasbord or buffet or melting pot, whatever you want, of like cross between hip hop, blues, gospel, rock and roll. You know what I mean? And so it's like you just stir all that up together, and you just don't know what you'll get. You know what I mean? And so, so there's a lot of influences all around, right? From your Bobby Blue Blands and and that gospel sound and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just truly just like a smorgasbord of just like creativity that comes from this place. You know what I mean? And I'm definitely proud to be from there.
Yeah. It's a lot of like you said, all that's mixed up. I do get like that bluesy, that bluesy vibe, the soul vibe. It's just a lot of it's an extra amount or a special amount that's there in
Right.
Memphis. So yeah, man, it's crazy. I think about Stay Fly. Like I think about from a DJ standpoint, I still play Stay Fly, definitely still play international players. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's funny you mention that because like when, in order for Groove Suite, I was torn between Ridin Spinners and Stay Fly. Like real talk. I was torn between the two, right? Because and speaking of Stay Fly, the Stay Fly remix with Trick Daddy on it. You know what I mean? Like he just came on and
yes, sir.
and rocked it out. And so once again, like that Southern, aspect to it was so important. But also on the original Stay Fly, that was important for the city itself because I don't know this to be exactly true, but definitely on the national scene, that was the first time where 8Ball, MJG, and 3 6 Mafia had collaborated like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking about two powerhouse, here in the city where everybody, around the South respected them both, but they didn't, come together. And so there's a whole dynamic of politics as far as like King of Memphis and who works with who and this, that, and the other. And honestly, that's one of the things that I always admired about Atlanta. It seemed like there was this period where everybody was on everybody's stuff. Like you couldn't, Tip was over here with Outkast. Outkast was with Bone Crusher, and Bone Crusher was on this, and it just seemed like and the Dungeon Family was on that, and it just seemed like this, just this collaborative effort, and like they just all just kind of like grew together, and that was something like, man, I wish we could do that here. Like, man, I just like there's so much talent here. Like, we can do that. And so it's starting to kind of show now a little bit, probably 10 years, 20 years late, but you're starting to see a lot of that Memphis sound, like I said, with Gotti and Moneybagg Yo and cats like that. So it's a beautiful sight to see. It's a beautiful sight to see.
Absolutely. So as we wrap this thing up a little bit, so Dominic in 2003, if he was able to get the spinners on his car, what car would he put those spinners on?
If you are from Memphis, from South for sure, but if you from Memphis, it's got to be the Bubble Caprice. Gotta be. Like, you gotta go Bubble Caprice, that 96 Bubble Caprice.
About the SS joint, the spaceship?
Got to. Yes. Got to, right? Like that was the I don't want to say it was the hood Cadillac, man, but that thing there was just like, had that crushed velvet.
It was a hood Cadillac, sir.
Okay, fair enough. I wasn't trying to disrespect the Cadillac itself, you know what I mean? But it's for those who couldn't afford a Cadillac, you know what I mean? But like, you had the crushed velvet seats, you had a wood grain steering wheel, had a pair of 12s in the back, you know what I'm saying, with a nice amp, and to have some 20s, with the spinners or whatever on a Bubble Caprice. Oh yeah, that's the one right there. Clearly, I had dope boy tendencies or aspirations, but it was never about that life. Never about that life.
I'm with you on that, man. Like I ain't gonna listen. People look at me even till this day. Saying a lot of people just be shocked. They're like, like, you from Jacksonville? Nah, you ain't from Jacksonville, because Jacksonville has that reputation. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully, like
right, of course.
All of Florida is just like, it's like palm trees, Mickey Mouse, and guys with grills in their mouth and heavy Chevys. And yes, I mean, I put my grill in from time to time if I feel like, what I'm saying, because it's just that flavor of it. But
of course,
but I was never too close to it. But I just always looked at it, I guess a philosophical way. I just was like, having a grill meant, like, what I'm saying, like you was kind of top of your game, or if you had the nice car. But I mean, I looked at it from that standpoint, and that's what kept me safe.
No, for sure. But let's be honest, man. Who was out here getting the girls? Who was getting the girls? I mean, that's where they came from. You know what I mean? So but it is what it is. But but no, definitely the bubble Chevy Caprice SS joint, and if it wasn't the bubble, it was the box joint. Got to go box. You know what I mean? So
no, the SS is so G, man. Like it's so classic. I haven't seen nobody ride around here with it, but I'm sure people still got it and keep it up. And I would love to see one on the street though, just to look at it and get that nostalgic feeling.
You know, probably just pop in. What's the movie with Ice Cube and Mike Epps, and he was a cop.
All About the Benjamins.
All About the Benjamins. Just pop in. All About the Benjamins. You know, if there's anybody out there don't know what we talking about, that Chevy Caprice, that SS John, that's it right there. You know, that's the one right there.
The spaceship. Matter of fact, 8Ball was on his double disc CD. That's his album cover, right? He had that SS in there.
I think so. I can't remember, but I think so.
Myth. Shout out to Myth, man. Shout out to Myth on that.
Got to.
Wow. Yeah, man. So last thing we talked about the climate of it, of the industry when the song was out.
Absolutely.
Which I feel like is very important, which is why I feel like that win, that when they got that Oscar, it was almost like the South got something to say, 2.0. It was
facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
I feel like it was that or whatever. But did we miss anything about that part as far as like the climate? Anything you want to add on to that? Because we talked heavily on it at the beginning, but I mean, just want to revisit that part real quick because I say I revisited because it's the South, and I love the West, I love the East, Mid, whatever. But when it comes to hip hop stuff, I'm South all day. Like I'm always gonna rep my South. So I just be wanting to get the shine for my South people as much as possible.
Right. Like that whole era, when you talk about the Oscar, it's kind of like, the South was like on this trajectory, right? And it's just going up and up and up. And I think, how, shooting stars are, man, they fade, right? Just as fast as you go up, your brightest is white, as white hot or as bright as you want to be, it can fade just like that.
Absolutely.
But I feel like that Oscar, like when we talked about the South got something to say about 3 Stacks, this is that 2.0, because I think that at that point, it cemented us as a viable creative outlet, right? But to be fair, it's like, when you talk about the South, and you think about a lot of musicians, like a lot of it originates from the South. We're talking across the pond too, with the Beatles and the Stones and stuff like that. They would come to Mississippi, right? I'm sorry, I gotta go Black History on you. That's what I do. Let's
do it. That's part of the reason why I brought it up. Let's get to it.
You had the Stones and the Beatles coming to see Muddy Waters, right? You had them coming to the South to get that sound. And so, but again, it's like the prophet in your own land is the people who you're around don't see the gem that you are, right? But people from all over like, nah, there's something going on in the South. And so when you get that Oscar, yes, that was a win for 3 6 Mafia. Yes, that was a win for Memphis, but I truly believe that was a win for the South. It's like, no, this is a place where creativity, a different type of sound, a different type of swag, a different type of culture, a different type of language comes from, and you have to absolutely respect it. It's something that it moves the culture, it moves the needle, and so to be able to get a Source Award and stuff like that, but to get an award where people in here in tuxedo tails, right? And you sit up here on stage with some Jordans on or some gangster Reeboks or some gangster Nikes. That says something, right? Absolutely. That means you got to respect that creativity. And so I think, again, that 2002, 2003 was that rising, that building up. But I think that moment in February of 2005, when they got that Oscar, just cemented the South as like a true, viable, creative outlet that you absolutely have to respect. And I think that has spilled over into podcasting, has spilled over to music today, has spilled over into movies and stuff like that. I mean, hell, Atlanta is basically Hollywood South now. Like, I can't think of a movie right now that's not shot in Atlanta, right? From the MCU to other blockbusters, like it's all shot in Atlanta or in Georgia, right? That you see the screens, the credits roll up, you see a little Georgia Peach, there it is, right? And so again, that is something to be said about the creativity of the South. And honestly, let's be honest, the creativity of people who look like you and me. Let's call a spade. You know what I mean? And so you cannot deny that. Right. And so I think that Oscar went a long ways into cementing us as you got to respect us because creativity lives here in the South.
Absolutely. I totally agree with every last thing that you said, brother. That I just wanted to make sure that climate. The other shows that I did, the climate part was, we talked about this in the third, but I mean, this is one of the songs that the history of it and how it was created and how it was built. It's very important to know. Like it's very important to know, especially when it comes to hip hop, man. I mean,
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, as far as like when you mentioned the Gottis and the Moneybagg Yo's, like you think about that and it's like, man, that's on the heels of, and respectfully, they did what they did to get where they got. But when you do that history action to it, man, you got, and just when you go back into like the, whatever part of Memphis they came from, and then you think about the whole aspect of it, and you think about like the whole South action. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful, man. So I have a lot of respect for like the history of Memphis when it comes to the music aspect of it, and you can't mention any of that without mentioning 3 6 Mafia. You cannot.
That history is incomplete. It's just incomplete, right? When it comes to them, and I would be remiss if I don't mention Dolph. Dolph is also in that era of being on their heels of. Getting it out the mud and coming from and Dolph comes from my neighborhood, South Memphis. You know what I mean? And so I understand that lifestyle. I didn't live it, but I understand that lifestyle. And so again, when you have that sound of a Dolph and stuff like that, you gotta pay homage to those who came before in 3 6 Mafia and Paul and Juice and Project Pat and Boo and Chat and stuff like that. Good, love my little Chat. Love Chat. But yeah, man, like we love 3 6 Mafia. Love 3 6 Mafia. Just very proud of all the stuff they've done for sure.
Definitely. And rest in peace to Young Dolph too, man. My apologies on not mentioning that for sure. But because he definitely adds on to hip hop. Same way,
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying, everybody else in Memphis has done. So he's definitely an important part of the history when it comes to Memphis for sure.
Well, he's part of that. I don't know how much anybody, respects Charlamagne the God and what he said, but there was a point in time where he's like, man, a lot of the hottest rappers out right now are from Memphis, and so again, you gotta pay that homage. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. It is what it is.
Sir. Yes, sir. Good deal. Well, listen, brother, I enjoyed this conversation, man. I greatly appreciate you being on here, man. It's definitely an honor. You stopped your award tour for going to being on everybody's shows to be on mine. I say this guy here is on everything, and I'm clicking play like I ain't never heard him talk before. With all due respect, brother, like yeah, man, like very wise, intelligent brother, man. I greatly appreciate you. It's gonna be many more of these conversations, man. Just to building, the relationship that we got, man. I truly honor that, man. I truly honor that, and it's good to know that there are like dope guys like you that's around this, this earth that I connect with, and we can talk about. I be on my admin talk all the time, man. But at the same time, too, I'm so admin. I'm like, man, we got to fix this administrative stuff and da da da.
I get it.
But it does feel good to just talk about like some dope ass hip hop and just sit back and
absolutely
relax. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, again, I respect the hell out of you and what you do and what you've been doing for a very long time. Iron sharpens iron, brother.
Absolutely.
And so again, I appreciate the opportunity to be in your airspace. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your platform, and I look forward to. I'm just gonna put it out there in the atmosphere, man, to try to collaborate with you one day. I don't know what that looks like. But
I don't know either. But I listen. I don't know either. But I put it in my head. It's been in my head. But I'm just like, we're just gonna let this thing manifest. We're gonna see how it goes.
Right.
But yeah, it's there in my head. So we both of us spoken and thought it. You know what I'm saying? It's yeah. It's gonna happen. Absolutely.
I hear that.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, let the people know where they can find you at, please.
So absolutely. So again, my name is Dominic Lawson. It's been an honor to speak with all of you. You can find Black is America podcast on all major podcast platforms. We just wrapped up season 1 of Black is America, and we did come away with a few more pieces of hardware a few days ago.
Okay.
From the W3 Awards, got the Best in Show award for the Wendell Scott episode, the NASCAR driver. I got the Best in Show, and so a few other awards. So all podcast platforms there. The Startup Life, our long running series, over 300 episodes. You can all on all podcast platforms there. And also came away with an award for Recovery Replay, the episode show I do for my employer, the Meadows. And so got a gold award with them, stuff like that. So clearly that's some dope stuff there. Please feel free to check it out. RecoveryReplayPodcast.com. If you're into, hearing people's story of mental health and addiction and trauma and how they come out of the other side of it, that's definitely a show you want to check out. And then Beyond Theory, the other show I do for them, long running show that I took over from my predecessor, stuff like that. Look, man, I'm just out here making podcasts, man. I don't know.
In the streets.
Just in these podcast streets, man, making podcasts, trying to make them the best I can. So
absolutely, man. Well, listen, you do a great job at it. So keep it going, man. Keep it going. So hold tight. Let me close this show real quick. Listen, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you go to C as in Charles, FoChallenge.com. Check out these content creators of color, and check out all the content they got going on. Shouts out to my Clubhouse crew, man. It's a lot on the dimensions. Sean Square, Ty Jen. Darn, I'm missing some of the people.
You got
Crate.
Kat, you got Crate, Lisa, boy Levi, the homie Levi, stuff like that. All them folks. I learned from each and every one of y'all. So I appreciate all of them for sure.
Yes, same here. So, and last but not least, please go follow the Groove Suite on Instagram and Twitter. TheGrooveSuite and all that good stuff, man. Until the next time, love y'all, man. Y'all be good to yourselves and be good to others. The Groove Suite podcast has been brought to you by Mr. Penis's Neighborhood and the Groove Suite. Make sure you stay in tune with us on our socials, on Instagram and Twitter at The Groove Suite, and on Facebook, The Groove Suite Podcast. If you want to email us some music, tell us that you like us, email us at groovesweetjacks@gmail.com. New things, new vibe, new soul, all that. Thank you to everybody who supports us, rock with us, and vibe with us. The Groove Suite.